It's a nice and bright but really rather chilly morning, so I've come into the greenhouse to do some bits and pieces. I have some tomatoes to harvest. These, well, there is some of these larger tomatoes that need picking, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the wheelbarrow up and rip out a whole load of stuff that's gone over and dying back now, and I'll probably hard prune the tomatoes as well, because a lot of the leaves, especially up on the cherry tomatoes, are dying back. Also the green, well, purple French beans, I'll pick any of those that happen to be ready. I don't think there'll be many, but if there's any I will, and then I'm going to rip those plants out as well. So yeah, just some tidying up really whilst the sun shines, and then I'm not sure what I'm going to do after that, but I just want to get those done first thing. It seems to be a morning for finding gross dead things. There was a dead mouse in the craft room on the floor this morning, and I just found the only way I can describe it is an inside out young rabbit in the area in front of the workshop. I suspect something has killed it, probably one of the cats, but not necessarily, and they don't eat the rabbits. Sometimes Willow will catch some like young ones, like baby, not tiny baby ones, but you know, like young ones, and but they don't eat them, they just hunt them, and has probably abandoned it. It's kind of an area where we see the rabbits anyway, and something has come along and took advantage of that. Probably one of the crows or the ravens, because so something has skinned a rabbit. Something's very dexterous. Not the most pleasant sight to come across when you are wandering around. So yes, I'm going to start ripping out stuff. I have the old pea plants over here. They all need pulling out. This is the tomatoes want pruning, and what else have we got? We've got some courgette plants and stuff that all want pulling out. So I'll be filling up the compost bins. I just had a mild moment of panic when I popped back in the house to find that I had a voicemail message from Derbyshire Police. Derbyshire is where my husband is at the moment to visit his parents. But it was nothing serious, thankfully. It's just that new vehicle was parked in a place, right, Severn Trent Water. There's a burst water main, and Severn Trent Water, the water company, needed to access the point which the vehicle was parked over, and they couldn't get in. The police had to get in touch with us, so that's why. And because I am one of the named drivers on the vehicle, I'm the owner of the vehicle. John has put it in my name. They got in touch with me, so I've had to get in touch with John to tell him to move it. But yes, my moment of panic over. I am getting on with it. The light is really weird. The light is behind me. Apologies for that. And my fringe doesn't want to stay where I want it. I'm getting on in here. Most of the tomatoes are now heavily pruned. There's a lot of like leaves that are dying back. And the problem is that when they flop onto the tomatoes, they're making the tomatoes rot as well, which is why I'm heavily pruning these. And we have a lot that are just quite diseased now. So a couple more tomato plants to prune. I'm going to prune this squash plant back as well. Honestly, I could probably rip out the whole plant because it's not going to bear any fruit now. And I've started on the French beans. Oh god, we're really in shadow now. But it's not a pleasant job because I keep getting absolutely rained on by aphids. It's really, really bad. But it's feeling a lot less grotty in here. But of course I did cut off a couple of the wrong cuts, so I do have some cherry tomatoes. I'm going to take these in the house and just ripen them in there. So I have ripen at home cherry tomatoes. Well, I'm spending my afternoon sitting on the floor. I have 3 coats of stain on this floor. I finished the stain off yesterday. I managed to get it all done, and I need to put the first coat of varnish on here. I've been kind of paranoid the whole time about dripping tea and walking out the back door, and I've had cardboard down and stuff so that to not mark the floor. The only issue is after I'd put some stain on some of the boards in the greenhouse the other day, I ended up deciding to not do that on the other boards, which is fine. But one of the cats threw up a hairball on one of those boards, and John cleaned it up obviously and put it down. Yeah, even with the wood stain over, you can kind of see where it was. But to fix that, I would have to sand that entire board down to white pine again, and it doesn't bother me that much. That would be too much hard work, plus I don't think it would ever blend in if I try to do that. So we're going to ignore that and hope it isn't really noticeable. So yes, going to put a coat of stain on. It takes an hour to dry, which means all I've got to do is not go in and out the kitchen for the next hour or so, which is fine. Keeping the cats out is the harder job. That varnishing took quite a bit longer than I was expecting it to. Well, a bit longer than I was expecting it to, but it did use quite a lot more varnish than I expected. It used up nearly half the tin on that first coat, and I was planning on doing 3 coats. Oh, my camera's slipping down. I was planning on doing 3 coats, certainly on that section where it's the main walkway. The other half of the room when it's done, but I don't know whether I'll do 2 or 3, but regardless, I'm going to need more varnish. This tin seems to be a little bit thicker than previous ones as well. I'm not sure if that's contributing, but even if it is, it just means that basically more varnish has gone on a high traffic area, which is fine. It just means it's going to cost a bit more than I'd originally planned. I am doing some work on my dotted rays, my autumn dotted rays shawl, which now that I've got both needles through my work, I can't stretch it out, but it's looking really, really nice. I'm loving the way the colours are working up in this. It's slow going, but it's just garter, so it's really mindless. In fact, it's been my relaxing knitting. Normally my relaxing knitting is whatever pair of vanilla socks I'm working on, but since I'm not really working on vanilla socks at the moment, this is my just knit the vast majority of the time, except the eyelet rows, and even them, they're not hard to do. I have quite a bit of yarn left. Before I started this wedge, after the previous eyelet row, I weighed how much yarn I had left, and I had 88 grams. So I will do this wedge, and then, I mean, it's going to take a while because it's quite wide now, the shawl, but after I finish this colour wedge, I will weigh how much yarn I have left, and then I will work out if I have enough to do another wedge before the I-cord bind off, which is going to take ages. If I remember rightly, when I did Mum's shawl, I think it used, I don't know, a good 30 grams of yarn maybe, to do the I-cord bind off. So it does take quite a while to do, but it's fine. Once you get into the rhythm of it, it's not exactly hard, and doing it in front of the TV like over a couple of evenings, it's fine. It doesn't really bother me. So yes, I really enjoying working on this. It's been my really relaxing knit. So for the rest of the day, well, I can't walk through there for an hour. I really could use a cup of tea, but I have to wait. But I will check it when the hour is up, which I think has got about 35 minutes left. That's being a bit precise, but it's roughly 35 minutes till I finished the varnishing. So I will check to make sure it's dry. I will make sure I'll be walking on it in my socks rather than my slippers, so that there isn't any imprints potentially made in slightly softer varnish. It shouldn't do. It's a water-based varnish, so it should be pretty tough after that hour. It does say it's dry in an hour. And then I can make a cup of tea. This evening I'm thinking about making some brownies. I'll be putting the oven on to make dinner, and I thought whilst the oven's on I might make some chocolate brownies. I'm trying to perfect my chocolate brownie recipe. I made some when my sister got married in the summer. Me and Mum made loads of cakes to take for the wedding, and one of those cakes were some gluten-free chocolate brownies. My step-niece is celiac, so we had to make sure there was some gluten-free stuff as well. So I made these gluten-free brownies, and they were very, very good. But when I got home I tried to make them, and I couldn't remember, because we doubled up the recipe, if I had forgotten to double up one of the ingredients, which I had a feeling I had. So I had to make 2 lots of brownies over a couple of weeks to test which one I'd made. And I didn't have gluten-free flour at home, so I'd used spelt flour, and the texture had been different with spelt flour. So then I had to make a 3rd batch of brownies with gluten-free flour. There was a lot of brownies eaten in September. This time I want to try using a higher cocoa strength chocolate in the brownies. I didn't for the wedding ones, but I feel like a higher cocoa solid content chocolate, like a 70-something% chocolate, as opposed to like a 50-something, like a Bourneville chocolate. I think it would be really good. So I think I might make some of those whilst my dinner is in the oven. So I have a plan. I can't get in the kitchen for a while yet.